Hi everyone, welcome to the Celebrity Diaries. Joe Jackson's heritage in the music business died in 2018 with a humble total assets of $500,000 regardless of his humble monetary standing. Jackson's effect on the music world was colossal, known principally as the dad and administrator of a few notable pop stars, including Michael LaToya and Janet Jackson. His inheritance stretches out a long way past his familial associations. One of Joe Jackson's most remarkable accomplishments was his part in dealing with the Jackson 5, a gathering that made history by turning into the main American band to land 4 sequential #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. This accomplishment cemented their place in music history and exhibited Joe Jackson's administrative ability. His devotion and key direction pushed the Jackson 5 to phenomenal achievement, procuring them a long-lasting imprint in the archives of famous music in acknowledgment of his commitments to the music industry. Joe Jackson was respected with acceptance into the Institute of Music Cadence and Blues Music Lobby of Acclaim in 2014. This renowned affirmation highlighted his huge effect on the class and filled in as a demonstration of his getting-through impact. Joe Jackson conceived youth on July 26, 1928, to Precious Stone Lee and Samuel Joseph Jackson, the 2 instructors. Joe was the oldest among 5 kin. His genealogy is saturated with history. His incredible granddad, July Jack Gale, served as a scout for the U.S. Armed Forces. What's more, he was likewise respected as a local American medication man, thinking about his adolescence. Joe described the severe and overbearing nature of his dad in his diary, The Jacksons. He laid out an image of himself as a desolate kid with not many partners. His family went through huge changes when his folks isolated when he was 12, while his mother and kin moved to East Chicago, Indiana. Joe remained with his father in Oakland, California anyway, at 18 years old. He rejoined with his family in East Chicago after his dad remarried in spite of confronting disturbances in his schooling. Joe tracked down work at the Inland Steel Organization yet never finished secondary school. It was in East Chicago that Joe's enthusiasm for boxing lighted. He joined the Brilliant Gloves program and exhibited momentous ability, indicating a promising calling pro athletics vocation anyway. Destiny had different plans when he ran into Catherine S. CU, a 17-year-old understudy close to Washington High School. In spite of being hitched at that point, Joe's marriage was quickly ended, making the way for his association with Catherine in November 1949. The couple got comfortable. Gary, Indiana is buying their most memorable home, an unobtrusive 2-room cabin with a developing family. Joe accepted a second position at American Foundries in Chicago, while Catherine tracked down work at Sinya's in Gary, notwithstanding the requests of giving for their growing family. Joe sought after his melodic desires, playing guitar in a band with his sibling Luther called the Birds of Prey. Joe and Catherine's association would eventually yield 10 youngsters, with Maureen Reby Jackson being their first conceived. Their family turned into a clamoring center point of inventiveness and ability, setting the stage for the rise of a few worldwide pop stars in the early The Jackson 5 1960s. Joe Jackson's excursion into the music world started with a basic perception of his child's interest with his instruments while he was away working. Seeing their advantage, he stepped up to the plate and sustained their ability, beginning with his 3 more seasoned children, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine. Their practices were thorough and extensive, mirroring Joe's commitment to sharpening their abilities. As the threesome showed guarantee, Joe extended the gathering, bringing more youthful kin. Marlon and Michael into the overlap. Randy, the most youthful sibling, was considered excessively youthful to partake at the time. With the expansion of Martin and Michael, the gathering's name developed from the Jackson siblings to the Jackson 5, flagging another part in their melodic venture. Their underlying exhibitions were restricted to nearby ability contests and secondary school occasions. However, Joe's vision extended past these unassuming starting points. He decisively reserved them in more proficient scenes, remembering gigs for Chicago, which continuously accumulated. Consideration for the skilled large kids' advancement came when they got an exhibition at the unbelievable Apollo Theater in New York City, a critical achievement in their thriving vocation on November 21, 1967. Joe Jackson accomplished another achievement by getting his most memorable recording contract with Gordon Keith, the proprietor and leader of Steel Tune Records in Gary, Indiana. The Gathering's introduction, single Enormous Kid, including Michael as the lead performer, stirred things up around town on January 31, 1968. While it didn't accomplish broad achievement, its delivery raised the siblings to nearby VIP status in Gary because of broadcast appointments on nearby radio stations. In spite of the underlying misfortune, Joe's assurance stayed unflinching. He worked with and tried out for his children at Motown Records, a critical second that would redirect their vocations in Walk 1969. The Jackson 5 signed a recording contract with Motown, catapulting them into the spotlight of the music business following their leap forward with Moan Records. Joe Jackson burned through no time in promoting the Jackson 5 achievement. He moved his family to the Los Angeles region, submerging himself in each part of their melodic excursion. Their introduction single, I Need You Back, shot them to public recognition, taking off to #1 upon its delivery on October 7, 1969. This accomplishment was quickly followed by the arrival of their first tea collection. Diana Ross presents the Jackson 5 in December of that very year, further cementing their status as rising stars in the music business. The resulting years denoted a hurricane of progress for the Gathering with their initial 3 collections. Furthermore, beginning 4 singles, I Need You Back, 1969, a BC 1970, The Adoration You Say, 1970, and I'll Be There 1970, all coming to the sought-after #1 spot on the Diagram's inside a range of only 10 months. Their irresistible Jackson's mix of deep harmonies and lively exhibitions charmed them to crowds overall, solidifying their place in music history. Quick to grow his loved one's melodic realm, Joe Jackson established his own record, Ivory Pinnacle Global Records, giving a stage for rising specialists under as the executives. The Marx craftsmen visited close by the Jackson 5 as opening demonstrations displaying Joe's skill for ability. The board and advancement, anyway, pressures with Moan Records incited a vital choice in 1975 as the Jackson 5 left from Motown and endorsed with Epic Records with the special case of Jermaine, who sought after a solo vocation with Motown. The change to Epic Records was not without its challenges. Legitimate question emerged over the Gathering's name as M-Town president Berry Gordy had protected the Jackson 5 thusly. The Gathering rebranded as the Jacksons, denoting another part in their melodic excursion. Regardless of these obstacles, Joe Jackson stayed determined as the youngster's person to help his attempts inside the music business in 1978. Joe's most youthful child, Randy, made his solo presentation with the single How Might I Be Sure on Ivory Pinnacle Global Records, further expanding the family's melodic portfolio, and furthermore, Jeanette's profession. Joe assumed an essential part in sending off Janet Jackson's profession as both an entertainer and a craftsman. In 1982, he funded her most memorable demo and worked with a recording contract with A&M Records, laying the basis for her rising to superstardom. Joe Jackson's key vision and resolute help were instrumental in forming the Jackson family's melodic line. His enterprising soul and commitment to his youngsters' professions left a permanent mark on the music business, guaranteeing their perseverance through heritage for ages to come. Next, we welcome you to investigate his deserted house, currently deserted house in Wellspring Slope, Arkansas. After Joe married Catherine, they made their most memorable home in a little 2-room house situated at 2300 Jackson Road, close to East Chicago in Gary, Indiana. This humble dwelling turned into the scenery for their everyday lives, where they brought up their kids and shared endless recollections separated from his home in Gary, Indiana. Joe, moreover, had a striking 2-story manor situated in Wellspring Slope, Arkansas, anyway, as the years passed. This sublime house fell into neglect, staying empty and quiet inside its walls. The house gloated with 3 rooms and 2 restrooms, giving adequate space for agreeable living. Its inside exhibited great highlights, for example, an extensive, extraordinary room, a comfortable country kitchen, and a fundamental floor room. Thanks for watching this video.